Welcome to the Creative Adventure Podcast, an artist's guide to modern freelancing. Thank you for joining me today for the Creative Adventure. My name is John Jagsney, and today we're going to be talking about the hero's journey as freelancers. So if you're finishing up a wonderful week or wonderful day of freelancing, whether you use a computer, an iPad, you do traditional art, fine art, whatever you use. Maybe you use a sword and a wizard staff or a wizard staff. I don't know many barbarians who also will use a wizard staff. Whatever your freelance method of choice, we're going to talk about the hero's journey and how this principle from fiction and narrative writing can apply to being a modern freelancer. If you're not familiar with the hero's journey, it is a concept from the book The Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell. And in summary, it's quoted as, "A hero ventures forth from the world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered, and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow man." So long story short, we can think of it as a sort of series of steps that a character will embark on to overcome a trial and then eventually be rewarded. That kind of sounds like being a modern freelancer. A client project comes your way. It may be a little bit beyond your skill set, or an artistic project just calls to you, and you have to struggle and fight to get through that. Sometimes it's more of a struggle. Other times it's less of a struggle. But all that being said, you have to go through that, and then when you come out on the other side, you are hopefully rewarded, whether it's through financial compensation as a freelancer, or it's through new skills, new friends, new potential networking opportunities. The hero's journey does come up and appear many times as a freelancer, despite us being in the real world where we don't really get to experience anything typically as fantastical as some of our favorite characters from most fantasy games or movies, like Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones, Batman, Master Chief, Link, whoever you vibe with. All of these characters are interesting because they are embarking on that hero's journey. Some of them are paid to do their work, like Geralt of Rivia or the Mandalorian, and others are doing it for the good of society, of everyone around them, their friends, their family, etc. As modern freelancers, we do have to do things for money. That is just part of the way the modern world works. But all that being said, the journey of being a hero stays the same. So to summarize the hero's journey, it is typically broken up into three phases. And since Joseph Campbell wrote this theory, there's been a lot of writers who have adopted it, changed it. It's not always cut and dry, and every single hero's journey has a sort of slight deviation. But overall, it does come down to three basic steps that typically comes up in most stories. So the first step is the departure. Departure is the moment when the freelancer, the artist, the hero, they have some initial hesitation. There's this challenge that is going to force that person outside of their comfort zone. So for a lot of artists, it may be going to art school. It may be downloading your favorite software from your favorite artist, whether it's Cinema 4D, Blender, After Effects, etc. There is this call that is going to significantly force you outside of your comfort zone. And this call is mostly about overcoming limiting beliefs, overcoming fears, and what generally gets the hero to actually make that decision and start embarking and departing on this journey for themselves is to have some sort of mentor, some sort of like character along the way. And that helps the hero, maybe it's you, maybe it's Luke Skywalker, cross the first threshold, the threshold in which they decide to begin their hero's journey. So one of the most iconic examples of this is Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan was like, hey, you should do something better with your time. Like, not be just a farmer on Tatooine. But Luke was like, nah, I'm good, man. And then there is a moment when Luke does not have a choice. He sees his home destroyed, his loved ones unfortunately murdered by stormtroopers, and that forces him to make the decision. Obviously, we as the modern people, we don't have to experience that, but there is a threshold and point in which not changing is more uncomfortable than changing, and that's often hard to find in the modern age. There's not many situations where it's just like we are really pushed against the wall in that way, and hopefully no one gets to that point. But making the decision is the first step, and departing on that and having some sort of mentor or role, people in your social group that encourage you and push you to try new things. If you know someone who already uses that creative tool that you're looking to learn, or you know another artist who's already done it, that person can maybe give you the encouragement that you need to depart on that first part of your journey. In the second phase of the hero's journey, you have initiation. And initiation is when you actually have decided to go on this journey. And when you experience the first steps of the journey, there's going to be trials, there's going to be obstacles, and those challenges and setbacks that you experience push against you and make you want to give up. It makes you want to take a step back and revert back to your former self. And in stage 2, initiation, you must experience those trials to grow as a person, as a hero. We wouldn't be super excited about characters like Daenerys Targaryen if she just kind of stayed as her super timid self at the beginning of Game of Thrones. When we see her grow into the Khaleesi of the series, she builds confidence, she builds strength, she builds skills of self-efficacy. And in the modern age, we're obviously not growing dragons, but she obviously had to challenge herself and do things that were very uncomfortable and putting her outside of her own comfort zone. But when you can get past those stages, there is moments of triumph, and eventually that grows into something awesome for yourself. So if you're trying to be an artist and a freelancer and also make money doing it, you don't get to experience those little wins if you don't try. And there's a quote from a book by Ryan Holiday, Stillness is Key. And the quote is, "You will always be stronger for having tried." So when you depart on this hero's journey for yourself and you experience the initiation where you do have those trials and tribulations, you don't know if it's not going to be good for you or bad for you. You don't know if it's going to be awesome unless you try. And when you have those moments of triumph, achieving your goal, you can transcend into a stronger version of yourself. Now, at the last stage of the hero's journey, you have return. And this is where you return to the ordinary world, your former self, with the new wisdom that you found through your new experiences. So we could look at Luke Skywalker returning from destroying the Death Star in Star Wars A New Hope. And they he becomes a much stronger version of himself. And in the next movie, he's a Jedi Knight, and he has new trials and tribulations where he must experience new challenges to grow even further. And the thing about being a freelancer and a modern artist is that it's not just a single heroic moment that you triumph. It is a constant lifestyle of departing, initiating, returning, relaxing, and then getting back to starting that hero's journey. And it's accepting that you should be able to find moments of growth and also find moments of rest. Now in Campbell's words, a successful hero is a master of two worlds, and it's basically where the hero retains the wisdom that they have earned while existing as their former self. So let's say, for example, you embark on this new journey and you have all these new skills, and it creates a really awesome lifestyle for you, but you don't give yourself the opportunity to experience why you wanted to make money as a freelancer. It's probably to support your lifestyle, your family, your friends, spend time with the people who you care about. So you could very well go down the rabbit hole of being the grind red pill freelancer. Just every single moment you are constantly working, but it's important to remember why we return and what are we doing these things for. And to me, a successful return phase for the modern artist and the modern freelancer is the ability to become a better version of ourselves without forgetting where we've come from. So that is the hero's journey in a nutshell. And now I want to take a short break, and when we come back, I'm going to share some of the stories I've had to embark on for my personal life and how it has influenced myself as a modern freelancer. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment. When I first started making decisions to depart on my own hero's journeys, I didn't really know what the outcome was going to be. What I did know is that I wanted to create a better life for myself, and I didn't quite comprehend that it meant being a stronger version of myself, but I knew what I didn't want to be. When I graduated high school, I moved from Connecticut to California, and I was working for my dad's board game company, Cryptozoic Entertainment. And at the time, I was really unguided and uninspired. I was smoking a lot of weed. I was doing a lot of really bad habits with food and binge eating, and I wasn't making a whole lot of money. I didn't plan on going to college, and the lifestyle I looked for myself was not one of very much accomplishment, and I don't think that people need to have these big, wild accomplishments to live a happy, successful life. You don't need to be like Gary Vaynerchuk or Tom Brady or like these super successful people. You can live a very happy, simple, humble life where you make enough money to support your family, your lifestyle, your habits, etc. So the reason why I share this is I was in a situation where I did not necessarily want to push myself outside of my comfort zone. I was very happy just playing World of Warcraft. But when I started to realize how that was affecting me, it made me realize that something needed to change, and I didn't know how to do that. So I had a lot of good mentors in my life who really encouraged me to look at my current situation where I wasn't making a ton of money working for this board game company. While it was a good position and good opportunity, it wasn't going to go anywhere for like long-term growth for me because I wasn't giving myself the initiation and education to really develop skills to be more productive and give back more to society. So some of my mentors include April Jones, George Nadeau, Patrick Dillon, Laura Waniak, if you guys are listening. These are many people at Cryptozoic. Ben Stoll, if I'm missing you, I apologize. But they encouraged me to try something new. They encouraged me to start exercising. They encouraged me to get a better education, etc. So the first thing that I tried is that I went to school. I went to Irvine Valley College in Irvine, California, and I was originally going for psychology because I wanted to apply that to game design. And when I started doing that, I realized that even psychology was going to be a challenge. And in high school, I didn't really apply myself. So my first departure was I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to really experience trying to push myself to learn more. And when I did that, I eventually decided I would get a degree in economics. I did finish that. It took me a little bit longer than some people, and I think it's worth addressing that not every departure and initiation and story that you embark on is going to be at the same speed that everyone else goes on. It took me, I think, 6 years to finally get my degree. I was also working at the time. I did leave Cryptozoic for a couple years so I could try and go back to school, and saved a lot of the money I was while I was working there so I could pay for that school. And when I went back, I was balancing part-time school and also part-time work. And through just that single moment of initiation and departing on this journey to better educate myself, it gave me the confidence to start trying new things. So at the time, I was also dabbling and doing some videos for World of Warcraft, and I was like, I could try this After Effects thing and maybe make some cool titles for my YouTube videos. And eventually, these little decisions started compounding on themselves. I kept departing on these little journeys, little side quests to help make myself a little bit stronger. I will say I do very much enjoy my side quests, and I do accomplish them. They're almost like these little adventures I go on in real life, and they all do support the main quest. So the first thing I'm trying to share here is that this departure that I went on did cascade into all these other awesome opportunities for me to build self-confidence for myself. And then when I return from those, I always like try and think back, why am I doing these things? The reason why I went back to school is I wanted to develop skills so I can hopefully earn a little bit more income, so then I could have a lifestyle that allowed me to give back more to the people I care about, to the community, in my little community of motion graphics and content creation and video production. I can give back more because I have accumulated a lot of skills between board games and economics and After Effects and camera work. So just starting anything will oftentimes be the best choice because it does turn into more ways to build self-efficacy and tools. So you can continue doing these little side quests and even your main quest, whatever that is. Now, one of the most important aspects of this hero's journey that allowed me to experience that first moment is the struggle I've always had with my body image, my athleticism, and my fitness. So while you are listening to this, and if you've ever seen me in real life as a person, generally people think of me as like pretty fit. I'm pretty athletic, I'd like to think. My last powerlifting meet was very fun. I performed. I'm not top of the thing, but I performed. I stepped on the platform, and it was fun with a 385-pound squat and a couple other lifts. We'll talk about that later. But before all of that, I was significantly overweight in high school. My top end weight was 250 pounds. I played too much World of Warcraft and League of Legends and Dota and Heroes of Newerth and all that. I loved gaming and Doritos and all of that. So I wasn't the healthiest person coming out of high school, but eventually I realized I needed to change. And when I made that decision to change and try something outside of my comfort zone, I eventually learned that I could do things and I could accomplish these things. Some of those trials and tribulations I did experience is not just dealing with hungers, trying to manage my own habits around food, but without going too deep into it, this will be for another podcast episode, but I did exhibit a lot of behaviors of anorexia, bulimia, bad habits when it comes to approaching my fitness. And through embarking on this fitness journey, it enabled me the skills to look at my life as a whole and figure out, like, where can I become a stronger version of myself? Is it my fitness? Is it my mental health? Is it my ability to earn money, sales, or is it my ability to create good work to hopefully get more work with other clients? So I've had a lot of personal vulnerabilities and things I've had to overcome to help with my overall personal growth. So let's take another quick break and let's talk about applying the freelancing mindset and these little decisions and self-efficacy into our own hero's journey. So there's a lot of similarities to being a freelancer and the hero's journey, and it really just comes down to stepping into the unknown, new skill, new client project, new ways to expand our creative abilities, and then facing the obstacles along the way, whether that's communication skills, hard skills, soft skills, whatever it is, and then emerging stronger on the other side. And a lot of the hero's journey experiences we embark on as artists is we must have a strong mindset towards being adaptable, being accountable, having strong emotional intelligence, and being really self-aware. Accountability is really important as a modern artist because we must be responsible for the outcome of our lives. Regardless of your life circumstances, where you're coming from, there is a certain level of accountability we must have to say, hey, I would like to make my circumstances just a little bit better. And as creative people, that does require us to be very accountable. Be like, hey, I may not be the best artist right now. And you could just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So one of my favorite books when it comes to being accountable is the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And if you're aware of his writing, he is a former Navy SEAL and team leader, leadership coach, entrepreneur, etc. And in that book, he really just describes different ways to be accountable for the outcome of a mission, of a business, etc. And to be a true leader of ourselves, because as a modern artist, we do have to be look inward and be accountable and take ownership of our life circumstances. And I do know, and I will acknowledge, that there are certain people in life who may not have the best endowments towards their life circumstances, lower socioeconomic status, and there's some people who have higher socioeconomic status. I will not deny the fact that me being in Orange County for a large portion of my upbringing in 20s is probably a lot better than being in the Midwest. I was much closer to things, and now I'm hoping to give back, but I still did want to take ownership of my mindset as I was getting better with myself and taking on these little side quests for me. So regardless of where you're at, it is important to be incredibly accountable for your current situation and where you want to be after. Now, this accountability and looking inward and be like, where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? Does require us to be emotionally intelligent. And I'm pulling some ideas from the book The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. And that book is very much to develop emotional intelligence. And one of the big parts about being a freelancer is there's going to be highs and lows. And those highs and lows are going to be really challenging financially, creatively, etc. And we must be aware of our current circumstances so we can continue to stay on our side quest. And this emotional intelligence and self-awareness that we must develop is important because there are goals, there are side quests that we can take that are significantly beyond what we are capable of. And I've done this. I've taken on little projects that I'm just like, wow, this is way far beyond what I can do personally. I've tried to remake game trailers completely by myself, and boy, did I realize what I was missing out on. There were projects I've taken on with clients that were much harder than I realized because I saw this quest, I wanted to do it, and it's as if going into World of Warcraft. And let's say you're playing World of Warcraft Classic, not like the new stuff. It's a little bit easier now, but World of Warcraft Classic, and at level 1, you immediately walk into Westfall, and you're starting to fight level 10 monsters. You're not going to be able to do it. Sure, you could get a team to help you, and you could very well be a leader in that situation and direct everyone, but like you may not be experienced enough to do those things. So being a good freelancer, modern artist, small business owner, whatever you want to be, it does require you to be aware and emotionally intelligent to know what you are capable of and what you realistically have time for, what you have the skills for. And you don't know these things until you try. And there's another book called The Dip by Seth Godin, and it's about like knowing when to quit things. So we'll talk about that in a later episode. But ultimately, when it comes to our own hero's journey, we should have some level of self-awareness to realize that there are goals that will be not capable right now, but eventually. And for us to get to those big end goals, we should and must always make sure that we're taking on little side quests here and there so we can get to that point. If you're currently making, let's say, 30K a year as an artist and your goal is to get to 500K, that is going to be a wildly challenging goal. Your immediate social network is going to be limiting. Your skills may not be there. Your ability to market your business may not be there. But going from 30 to 40K that's still a win. And just those little wins can help you grow into that much larger outcome that you ultimately want. So emotional intelligence really comes down to embracing where you currently are and accepting where that is and overcoming the negative emotions that do pop up here and there. And those negative emotions are, I'm not good enough, I'm not skilled enough, I don't have the communication skills for this, etc. And you should be accountable to where you're at and accept the little wins here and there. Freelancing is full of highs and lows, but by giving yourself these little side quests and embarking on these little heroes' journeys, you will eventually build more confidence, and when the times are tough, you'll know that you have built the self-efficacy skills to overcome even the most challenging of things. And really, it just does come down to staying resilient, just like our favorite heroes, whether it's The Mandalorian, Geralt of Rivia, Master Chief, I have a type, obviously, or Daenerys Targaryen, Batgirl, Robin. I miss the old Teen Titans series from the mid-2000s. That was pretty sweet. A lot of little heroes moments in there. But I really encourage you to reflect on your hero's journey. And like, what kind of hero do you want to be? So with that being said, understand that it's important to be consistent, it's important to believe in yourself, and embrace the journey as you go on it. So I'm going to leave you with 4 questions today, and these 4 questions are something I came up with as I was writing this podcast episode outline. And the first one is, what is your call to adventure? What kind of freelancer do you want to be? And in the same way, when you start up any fantasy game, whether it's D&D, whether it's World of Warcraft, what class do you play? Do you want to be upfront and personal? Do you want to be the tank? Do you want to be the DPS? Do you want to be a support role? Whatever you want. Like, what is your call to adventure? Maybe you want to be a motion designer. Maybe you want to be a photographer. You want to be a fine artist. And obviously certain roles will have certain privileges. I will say that, and this is an episode later, some roles may end up getting paid more than others. But overall, understand that as an artist, you must answer the call. And what is that call to you? Now, before you depart on that quest, what resistance do you feel currently? Is it time? Is it money? Is it whatever it is? What is that resistance? And just like in the hero's journey, Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan, Daenerys, and Jorah. Jorah was her mentor, Daenerys and Jorah. Um, is there someone in your life who's already doing what you want to be doing? And can you maybe learn from them? Make a comment on their Instagram page, make a comment on their YouTube channel, maybe get to know them just a little bit. And not everyone will be down to get coffee with you and understand that that person may be beyond. Not everyone can be Obi-Wan Kenobi, but maybe there's someone who's taking little parts of what you want to do and you can learn from them and understand that those mentors can help you reduce the barrier to entry a lot of the time, because they can give you the encouragement to, like, hey, it's worth trying. Learning Blender is worth trying. It's a little scary to understand what parts that will be challenging, and hearing that so you can bypass and save yourself that time. Now, there are going to be challenges along the way. So the third question is, what challenges do you fear most for your initiation? What are the biggest things that you are afraid of? Is it ultimately, a lot of people are afraid to learn new creative software or new creative skill because it's like, oh, I can't find time, I can't make time, etc. And if these are reasons you're giving yourself as to why you can't pick up these things, ask yourself, like, is there a way in which I can make time? We're going to talk about making time in not next couple episodes from now. But can you find ways to make it easier to overcome your fears, whether it's time, whether it's skill, whether it's technical ability, whether it's technical equipment. Maybe you don't have the best computer right now, but maybe you could try a lesser version of things. You'd be surprised what you can accomplish on even a very basic graphics card and real-time rendering, nerd stuff. But what do you fear most? What do you think is going to be the hardest challenge? And if it's too hard, understand and be aware that, hey, maybe you should take a step back. Maybe you should pick up a skill or a project that is a little bit easier. A lot of people, they want to make their first character when it comes to 3D modeling, and I tried that. Personally, I tried making my own characters, and I struggle with anatomy. So rather than diving deep into anatomy when I'm already struggling learning the modeling skills, instead I'm making props. I'm making swords, I'm making weapons, I'm making little vehicles, things that don't have the subtlety of creating the human form. I can just focus on learning the modeling skill and creating shape that's visually interesting without trying to learn a whole separate skill set that takes decades to truly master. Then that is anatomy. So if there's a project that you want to do, maybe scale it back just a little bit. And when you're done with all of this journeying, these side quests, main quests, whatever you're doing, what do you want to return to? And this is something that I've always struggled with, because I do embark on these fitness goals, and I do go significantly beyond my comfort zone, and I want to maintain that. But that's not always possible. Grinding yourself into the ground into these new skills is great for a short time, but even the most performant athletes in the world, even football players, they only play for a season of however many months before they're going back into training. Maintaining peak performance is incredibly challenging. So when you return from this side quest or part of your main quest, etc., when you return, what do you hope to return to? Is it being able to support your family and friends? Is it being able to create better artworks for your portfolio? Or is it to have a lifestyle that you are truly happy with? So let's just recap those questions really quick. What is your call to adventure? Before you depart on your quest, what resistance do you feel? What challenges do you fear most for your initiation? And lastly, what do you hope to return to when your quest is complete? So with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed my summary of the hero's journey and how it applies to being a freelancer in the modern age. If you learned something, if you felt this podcast was useful, I would love to hear it in some sort of review, or you can hit me up at jags@jags.tv, and I would love to hear some feedback, whether it's positive or not, so I can make this podcast better for you and listeners at home. And with all that being said, thank you very much for listening to The Creative Adventure. My name is John Jagsney, and we will end this podcast with a dice roll. I have a D20 I got at, I think it was Gen Con last year. And the last week's podcast, we rolled a 3, and that dice is now in dice jail. So we have this full metal one with some cool little like patterns on it that has like It's almost like sacred geometry and dragons combined. There's a dragon on each face. Maybe I'll post a picture on Instagram of it. But let's see. What is this week going to be like? That is a 17. I'm very happy with that. Thank you for listening to The Creative Adventure. And until next time, may the freelance dice ever roll in your favor. Take care.